zoning articles. I just want to mention briefly articles number 61, 62, 63 are proposed. These are the ones that deal with the coastal management plan. Articles 64, 65, and 71 also deal with this. The Civic League initially, we were debating whether to take a position on lumping these articles together, and we chose to address these articles by putting out a summary sheet, which you'll find on the back table there. The Finance Committee, by the way, has recommended not to approve these particular articles. They are complicated. There are, in a sense, they are sort of, well, they are in conflict with each other. So we suggest that you take one of those sheets of paper. And by the way, Andrew and Leslie here, why don't you come down and join me on either side? You want, or do you feel comfortable over there?
We'd like to be able to see the screen.
Oh, okay, great.
No, we would love to.
No,
Sit next to you.
that's perfectly fine.
Do you need help?
These are copies of the summary sheets. We don't have any of the proponents here, although they were invited to attend.
Right. These are the proponents. Arthur Reed was a proponent for deleting the current bylaw that prohibits construction on town beaches until there are a set of principles in place. So, on to the zoning articles. In my mind, zoning and planning is one of the most important things that the community does for itself. And the zoning articles, which come up every year, are an attempt to address, I think, one of the most basic issues that affect the quality of life here on Nantucket. So without further ado, Andrew, do you want to start?
Thank you, Alan, and thank you to the Civic League for the invitation, the opportunity, again, to come forward and go over the zoning articles as well as the real estate articles. As you know, the Planning Board provides recommendations to town meeting on zoning articles, and I would like to recognize Planning Board Chair Barry Rector, who's here in the audience. We are in the implementation phase of the master plan voted in 2009, so this is the third year into it. As part of that master plan is an implementation schedule, and what we've included in this year's warrant, as with last year's, is a Planning Board report that kind of updates voters on where we are with the implementation of the master plan, as well as a glossary of terms. We've expanded that a little bit, so this will be included in the warrant, so you'll have an easy reference guide without having to bring an actual zoning book with you to kind of go through. And if you do have, we're going to go through this very quickly, so there will be additional information on the town website. The maps are posted. So if people need time to study the actual proposals, that will be there. So I'm going to let Leslie walk us through the actual zoning articles at this time.
All right. Again, thank you all for having us today. I'm Leslie Snell. So this year on the warrant, the zoning articles start with Article 37, and they go through Article 57. 17 of those articles are map changes to the zoning map, and 4 are zoning bylaw changes. The concepts, there we go. The concepts of our zoning articles are implementation of the master plan. As you may recall, it was approved in 2009 by a unanimous vote of town meeting. Our zoning articles include a phase out of the RC2 zoning district, a phase out of the R1 zoning district, implementation of the Greenbelt, matching the existing character of neighborhoods with the zoning district, implementing the town and country overlay district concepts, excuse me, and creating village and neighborhood centers. Again, we are in the implementation phase, so all of our zoning articles are consistent with the objectives of our master plan. Article 37, the purpose of this article is to rezone a certain portion of downtown that's currently located in the LC and RC districts to the commercial downtown district. Both the RC and the LC have been identified in the master plan to be phased out. The current character of these properties is consistent with the commercial downtown. Article 38, a rezoning for properties including Academy Hill and some properties on the fringe of the commercial downtown district. All of these would be placed in the residential old historic district. We have modified our use chart to allow elderly housing in most or all of the zoning districts, so that can be absorbed easily into the ROH. And the properties on the fringe of the CDT are currently residential in character, so it makes sense to put them in a residential district. Article 39, the purpose of this article is to rezone a portion of Upper Main Street and a portion of Gardner Street from R1 to residential old historic. Again, R1 is identified in the master plan for phase out. The parcels included in this article are consistent with ROH based on some concerns expressed at the planning board hearing about potential increased density through additional ground cover. We've removed the properties shown in X along Upper Main Street. Article 40, the purpose of this article is to rezone properties along the Old South Road commercial corridor from RC2 to commercial neighborhood. This actually begins a series of articles phasing out the RC2 zoning district. We've mentioned this many times here, and I'll tell you again that the RC2 district is our least restrictive zoning district. It allows every use that's allowed on Nantucket is allowed in that district, everything from a residential dwelling to an asphalt plant. So Article 40, the properties included are largely commercial in character. There's some multifamily apartment style housing included. This would be rezoning them from a commercial district to a different commercial district, commercial neighborhood. Article 41, this includes a large residential area along Myakama Avenue, Appleton Road, Essex Road, Thurston's Way, Green Meadow, Valley View Drive, Otokomi Road, Cynthia Lane. Most all of these properties are residential in character now. They're in a commercial district, RC2. We're proposing to move them to R5, which is strictly residential. The density is the same. They're both 5,000 square foot lot districts. The ground cover is slightly reduced from 50% to 40%. And a lot of the properties included already have restrictions against commercial development. So there's really no need for them to remain in a commercial district. The property with an X over it, there's 3 properties. The property owners expressed some concerns about being included in the district at this time, so we removed those and we will consider those at a future town meeting. Article 42, again, a phase out of the RC2 district. These are residentially used properties. Fawn Lane, which is a new subdivision off of Old South Road. It's a strictly residential subdivision. And the properties off of Tom's Way are residentially used properties. The property owner asked to be included in a residential district. So we would be taking these out of the RC2 commercial district and putting them in R5, strictly residential. Article 43, this was a citizens article to rezone 4 parcels on Thurston's Way. The slide incorrectly identifies these as being in RC2. They're actually in R20, which is a district with essentially half-acre lot sizes. They were proposed to be put in R5, which is a 5,000 square foot district. There was no consensus from the planning board about what should happen here. Some different ideas were discussed. The board and the neighbors had concerns about increased density if the zoning were changed to R5. So the board gave this article a negative recommendation. And this may come up again, but for right now, it's a negative recommendation. Article 44, properties along the west side of Appleton Road. Again, phasing out the RC2 district, placing these properties in a strictly residential district. These properties were included in the subdivision approval for the Mizzenmast subdivision to the west. They are consistent with the R10 district. They have restrictions against commercial use. Article 45. These are properties along Somerset Road, not Somerset Road, Bartlett Road and Marble Way. Currently in the RC2 district, we're proposing to put those in the C-Tech district, which stands for Commercial, Trade, Entrepreneurship, and Craft. Most of the properties included are commercially used properties. There are a lot of boat storage, contractor shops, landscape contractors in this area. The property owner, the property that's shown with the X, asked to be removed so she could address some estate planning issues. So we've taken that property out for now, and we will include that in a future article. Article 46, another RC2 phase-out article. These properties are along Wendy Way and Surfside Road. It includes the Muse property. They would all go from RC2. There's one property that's currently in the R10, a residential district, but it's used in conjunction with the Muse operations here. We would place all of those properties in commercial neighborhood. So these would go from commercial to commercial. And this would implement the master plan commercial node concept, where you have small clusters of commercially zoned properties that can service higher density surrounding residential properties. Article 47, the properties included are all part of the Don Allen business, except for one small strip of land that goes with another parcel. The Don Allen business is currently in a residential district. It's a pre-existing non-conforming business that's subject to multiple permits from the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Approval of this article would place them in the Village Neighborhood District, which is a low-density commercial district for the country areas. The owners have agreed to certain restrictions on future subdivision and a limitation on uses. So concerns expressed by the Planning Board about future subdivision, density increases, and different kinds of uses on this site have been addressed. Don Allen Ford is a business that supports the island, and the Planning Board has tried to work with them on a rezoning that makes sense for them, but doesn't create something out in the country that may not be appropriate. Article 48. This begins our Greenbelt implementation. There are 3 slides for this article. The properties included are being rezoned from various districts to the R40. The R40 is the lowest density district in the town overlay. And the properties that are outlined in red, and they're scattered throughout the town, are open space parcels, so they're owned by the Land Bank or the Conservation Foundation or another group like that. They may be cemeteries, they may include wetlands. They're not developable parcels. So there's the first slide, second slide, third slide. And that parcel's owned by the airport. It's a park. Article 49, same concept except in the country overlay district. There are 9 slides. Again, the parcels are already preserved open space. They're owned by the town of Nantucket. Some of them are coastal properties that are environmentally sensitive and may not be appropriate for higher density building. They include wetlands. First slide, this is out in Matticat. Again, this is in Matticat, Ill Point Road, Long Pond area. It's Washing Pond, Matticat Cliff area. Monomoy. This is out in Quidnet. Sconset along Gully Road, Codfish Park. This is South Shore Road. Again, at South Shore Road, my comment area, Surfside, and Article 50. Article 50 includes 3 sections. The properties in this article are proposed to go from, excuse me, LUG 2 to LUG 1. The first slide shows properties along Pochick Avenue, Wee Weeder, and Boulevard. This was part of the Surfside Area Plan. If rezoned from LEG 2 to LEG 1, modest subdivision potential may be available for some lots and ground cover increases. Development out here is limited by lack of town sewer and town water. And again, this was recommended by the Surfside Area Plan. Article 50, or same article, 50, second slide, is a single parcel. This was included in a previous rezoning. There was a family matter that needed to be addressed, so the parcel was removed. They've now agreed on the rezoning. They've requested the rezoning, and the planning board supported it. This section of the article includes parcels along Orkawa and Monahans. Several of the parcels included are owned by the town of Nantucket. 4 parcels do have subdivision potential. 2 of those are privately owned, and there would be some modest ground cover increases allowed if rezoned. Article 51, this area is Wauwinet, and the current zoning district is R1, which again has been identified in the master plan for phase out. The R1 district is a high-density district. It's not appropriate for an area out in the country. The density that's allowed in R1 isn't achievable in an area with no town water and no town sewer, where there are environmental issues that constrain the sites. So we're proposing to place these properties in a combination of LUG 1, which has a minimum lot size of about an acre, and some in LUG 3 that are in split districts now. The properties with the X have been removed in the planning board motion. There is an interfamily transfer happening. They asked to be removed so they could address that. So we will consider those for rezoning at a later time. Article 52, this area is in the village of Sconset in the town center. We're proposing to create a village neighborhood center. The casino property and the market, the bookstore, Claudette's, I think that's it. Those are included, the post office, those are all included. Right now, the uses that are in Sconset, the commercial uses, are all pre-existing non-conforming. So this would be an added measure to protect, any future commercial uses in that very, very limited area in the village of Sconset. Article 53, also in Sconset. This is a residential area along Baxter Road, Sankaty Road, and some other outlying streets to the west. A citizen asked for the board to consider this article, and we've reviewed the density of all of the parcels included, and it would address a lot of nonconformities that currently exist out there. Most of all of the lots are undersized, and any minor changes that they need to make require a trip to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Putting these in the R10 district would allow some ground cover increases, but essentially no subdivision. There are 2 lots that we think may benefit from some subdivision potential out of the 75 that are included in the article. Zoning bylaw changes. We have 3 zoning bylaw change articles. We are planning to alter the cluster and major residential development provisions of the zoning bylaw, the public wellhead recharge district. Oh, there's 4, not 3. Some miscellaneous technical changes, and then the citizen article to create a solar energy overlay district. Article 54, cluster and MRDs. The cluster and MRD bylaw provisions have been discussed by the planning board at length for several years, and they really needed a major overhaul. They'd been added and modified and changed over the years, and there was a lot of redundancy between the 2 options. So we have proposed something new.